Yo, what's going on, people?
Hello.
TV.
Yes, guys.
Hold on, we can't even cut the music down. There we go. Raps on TV. How you doing, people? Reporting live from London. Here to talk the best things in boxing. It's your host, sorry, Kojo. I'm joined with my co-host Tom and Sam. How you doing, fellas?
Yeah, good, man. Give yourself some credibility. You're the main man. You're the host.
I don't know about Mr. Raps on TV, yeah?
Yeah, you are Mr. Raps on TV.
But we're here. You good, Sam?
Yeah, I'm all good, man.
Good. So listen, guys, got a packed agenda today, but before we move any further, I just wanted to introduce our guest. Very pleased and happy. This is our first guest of the year. I can just about see him through all the mics, but I see you, bro. Mr. Hamzah Sheeraz. He's with Frank Warren, super welterweight, WBO. More than a contender now, right? You're the WBO international champion?
European champion.
Here in the show, here with his boy, Kiza. How you doing, guys?
All good, man. All good.
Good. Thank you for joining us.
No worries, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah, we really appreciate you here. So, guys, listen, for everyone listening in, we're gonna open the lines about 8:05. But for sure, just wanted to say the agenda today pretty packed. Last weekend we had Danny Garcia take on Red Catch over in the Barclays Centre. Got a good win. Also, those of you on the undercard will remember last week I said we got Stephen Fulton. He got a good win. What else are we going to talk about? None other than this week we've got the show in Miami via Matchroom. We've got Andrade heading that up. We've got Farmer versus Joe Diaz. So it's a little bit of a packed show. But to be fair, before we go further ado, the boys just raised it about a couple of minutes ago. I think we've got to say a shout out and our condolences to the family of not only Kobe Bryant, but obviously everyone else that lost their lives in a tragic accident with the helicopter over in LA. Very sad news, boys, right?
Yes. It's quite a sad note to start off the show. Like I remember,
otherwise we forget.
Sunday, and it's, rest in peace to a legend, man. Not just a basketball, an icon. I'd actually put him up there with the greats and people that just speak. And reading his book, I recently finished his book, Black Mamba, and just the mentality from that is unbelievable. Like my younger brother was really upset about it, and
it's heartbreaking.
but his legacy will live on, 100%, man. His legacy will live on.
Do you know, it was so sad to see because especially like we all say with top elite athletes at the top of their game, they're setting an example and a benchmark for these young guys coming through, young talent, aspiring young kids, to do well. And it's like there's an emptiness now in the world where you've got such a role model and such a prolific basketball player that's setting that foundation for these young people.
100%.
These young kids, they've lost something there, but I just hope now his legacy is going to be kept alive and that he can get his impact in communities, his impact within the sport with the NBA. It sends out a strong message to the young people.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just wanted to say condolences again to the family. So back to boxing, Mr. Sheeraz, how you doing, sir?
I'm all good, man.
Thank you for joining us. How have you been? Like, obviously, 2019 was a busy year for you. You collected all those W's,
That's it.
which is what we want to see.
That's it.
And obviously hoping for a big 2020. But what have you been up to the last couple of weeks? Training, fight news, just.
So yeah, after the fight, I had like a week off, and I was back in the gym because more than a week, and I was just like, I get bored. Do you know what I mean? I get bored. So I was back in the gym. Then it come Christmas and I had a couple of days off, and ever since I've been ticking over. Like I think this is the perfect time to learn, like work on your weaknesses, if that makes sense. Because when you get into camp and you get an opponent, it's more concentrating on how you're going to beat that opponent. Whereas now you got time to work on your weaknesses and just work on the little things that really count, really. So yeah, it's been all good. I've been enjoying my family time and just time off. Do you know what I mean? Every boxer needs time off at the end of the day because you can't always stay switched on. You become like a robot. You have no personality or nothing. Yeah. So it's good to be normal, man.
Yeah. And you want to introduce your guy with us that's here today?
Yeah, man. This is my mate Kiza. He comes with me everywhere, really. But this is the first time he'll be speaking. So
the right hand man.
The right hand man.
So who's the looks of the camp then? Who's the looks?
I'd say him. But I don't know. I'm the one who takes the punches at the end of the day. So
I always say it's important to have a good number two around you, man. It's the number twos that keep the clock going round. You know.
Keep it grounded.
They say that boxing is like it's a one guy in the ring, but it's definitely a team sport, man.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, you see
really
that.
Important,
Everyone just focus, like you said, and obviously no disrespect to the fighter. Everyone focuses on the fighters, but you are right. It's a team game, right? Whether it's strategy, keeping you level-headed, keeping you humble, 100%. Like it all plays its part. So Hamzah, I guess there's no better place just to even ask you, how did you get into boxing? Like, how long have you been doing it?
What's the story? The story, man. So it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing like I was on the road and doing madness and then got into gym. It's nothing like that. It's just like honest, hardworking kid. You know what I mean? But it's always been in the family.
Yeah.
I've said in my other interviews, my uncle, he was an amateur boxer as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was a 8-time national champion.
Oh wow.
He turned pro, didn't have a fight. But then I said it before, the fact of seeing, like, when I was young, watching people hit each other, it just sparked something in my head, like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And yes, I went to the gym, got in the gym, and like I ain't looked back since, man. I had a decent amateur career, nothing too spectacular. But I was just discussing before. As soon as I turned pro, the game changed, man. The game changed.
100%.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, we talked about kind of turning the page from 2019 to 2020, like us guys, passionate boxing fans. What kind of gave you that confidence from 2019 that now you're moving into 2020? Some big fights talked about for yourself. You know, 154 pounds. I know we'll come onto it in a bit. You know, like a Cheeseman, Fowler, all these guys. I know they're obviously on a different platform. What would you say you've improved or learnt about yourself more than anything from last year coming into a new year now?
I'll tell you what, the first couple fights I had, which was the first one was at Royal Albert Hall against Rod Douglas. I got the win there, and then I fought one foreign journeyman, stopped him in the second round, and then I fought, it was my first 8-rounder against a tough opponent, and I wiped him out. And then when that happened, I kind of like went to the change room and straight away they goes to me, listen, there's going to be a step up now. I was like, yeah, I'm more than happy. I'm more than ready. Not one to call anyone out, but whoever they put in the way, I said that they get destroyed. It's simple as, do you know what I mean? Like,
Gotta have that.
Need that confidence.
100%, man. 100%. But yeah, and that, I think my last fight, the Ryan Kelly fight, I had so many doubters. I said it before, but they don't really get to me because I'm quite thick-skinned like that. Like I don't care. I couldn't care less because at the end of the day, it's me and the opponent in the ring, and everyone's opinions. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but if I let that get to me, then I'm just like kind of lowering myself to negative comments, something that I don't need, something that you need positivity in boxing. Do you know what I mean?
They're not taking at the end of the day, they're not taking the punishment for you. You're the one having to override the challenges you have in fights. I mean, there's no fighter out there besides probably Floyd Mayweather that's gone through a fight having to overcome adversity. I mean, for them to kind of look in and give their thoughts on of course you do.
Part of boxing, isn't it?
Course,
part of boxing. But I think what hit me more was that some of my own people were said, "Are you sure you're ready to take this fight?" It's mad. It's mad.
Like
it was like that. But obviously, I'm never disrespectful, so I was just like, you got to be quietly confident. And I got the job done, and I think it opened so many people's eyes, and now they're like, oh, now you should take this fight, now you should take that fight. But hang on a minute, you're the one saying I shouldn't have took that fight. Do you know what I mean? But it's good, man, we move, you know what I'm saying? We move, that's my quote, man.
And how does it feel for you? Because obviously you got the WBO, European level, as we said. From being fighting in the UK, have you got any aspirations to maybe go for a British? You know, I say the typical route, but maybe a British title at all, or
Standard.
Not the English title. Because I think if you fight in European, you're above. But
of course,
maybe just to have that in your collection. Is there any?
It'd be 100%. It'd be good. But now that I'm rated 15 with the WBO, every defense of this title will only get my rating higher. So you never know. You could get a mandatory title shot. And listen, if the opportunity came, I would not turn it down. You know what I mean? Like, I believe in myself. Like, I'm 20 years old. Do you know what I mean? And I've got no option but to believe in myself. So if I got a world title shot, I'd 100% go for it. In fact, but like you said, if I have to divert and go, let's say the British title weight, then why not 100%? It's a brilliant title to get under my waist. So yeah, who knows, man?
I love that attitude.
I love it as well, man. Like to hear that someone who's just willing to take risks and put it all on the line. We always talk about fighters who say they're about it, but you see when the camera goes to them, they're a bit like, we'll see what happens. Or to one reporter, they're saying one thing and saying the other. So it's refreshing to hear that. But
definitely.
One thing I wanted to ask though, what was going through your mind at the time when you had your loved ones doubting you? Because this is something that a lot of people don't actually see the side of the book. So what was going? Talk me through.
I'll tell you what. At the time, I thought nothing of it. At the time, I thought nothing of it. There was a passing comment. Then closer to the fight, you pick up on these little things because you're getting so much more.
You just deep it a bit.
Yeah, it's tunnel vision.
Oh, you man, you're supposed to be like right by me, man.
Yeah.
You're the one saying. Oh, and you just deep the comments. You're like, "Raw, man, you're supposed to be supporting me like all the way."
No, of course.
And that's the way you're thinking.
So what was your role in it? Trying to say like,
I'm just watching
tunnel vision type.
I'm watching there, and I'm like, because I know him. I'm like, I know he's gonna not think anything about it. But when he's focusing 100%, he'll be like, "Raw, this guy's trying. Okay, cool." Now he's got to prove like more people wrong. It's just about. Stepping up that level, and I'm like
100%. But I'd say like it's about proving to them, but I think it's more proving to myself what I'm capable of. I know what I'm capable of, but now it's about showing it. But like I said, going back to your question, it hit me more like say a week before fight night, because that's when you realise, oh yeah, they'll ring you up, I'm coming to your fight, you better win this, that, the other. It is what it is, isn't it? But I think that's when it hit me. Then I thought, you know what, man. And then I thought, what can I do about it? Not much. Everyone's got an opinion, so I'm just gonna get on with it and get this win.
Yeah, and Kez, how proud are you of this young man? The way he's elevated from
Mad,
that.
man. It's been mad because I remember in like year 7 or something, we were running around school in PE and stuff. And I saw this guy, skinny little kid. I'm like, oh man, get out of my way, man.
I was 38 kilos at the time.
I can bench you.
I see this kid running around. I was like, oh, get out of my way, man, get out of my way. And then as we started getting older and older, and we became tighter, and then family, friends, and stuff. And I'm getting fatter, and this guy's getting like quite ripped and shit. I'm like, oh, allow it, man. Now he's lapping me. Now he's lapping
karma.
me.
He's like, get out of my way.
Yeah. But no, I'm mad proud of him, man. From like watching him in the amateurs and stuff, like just me and his dad going, and now everyone's around. It's just crazy, like, and in quite a short time period as well. He's only 21 soon, and what he's accomplished is mad. Like just watching the journey from the beginning and now up to here, it's just crazy, and this is just the beginning, you know.
And just to reiterate your point from earlier, you talked about that team influence, that impetus, even with like the training side of things. Obviously, I want to get as much out of you with your role and how you've influenced Hamzah and to get him to this stage. I mean, just talk about your diligence to his career.
I think especially in the sport of boxing, like just being there with the boxer is like really like it's like so not you gotta like just being there with him. It's a massive thing, like. Just being there, accompanying him, going here, going there. Just in their head, all they have to worry about is just training and getting better. Everything else, it shouldn't really be like a priority. Like just your team is like so vital, especially in this sport. It's not really seen in cameras. Like when the lights are on, it's just one guy in the ring. But behind the scenes, oh man, I've seen it. It's like crazy, man. Like everyone's running around, but the boxer's calm, cool, collected. Especially him. Like just as soon as he's about to go out, it's just so chilled, like some airy atmosphere.
Yeah, the whole change room. It's mad because last fight was the biggest fight and it was the biggest risk. And obviously I wasn't expected to win it, but as soon as because they come into your change room and they say you're out in 5 minutes, that's when the heart starts getting mad.
Out your chest,
and you're really deep in the past 12 weeks, what you've put into them 12 weeks. This is it kind of thing. And it's mad though because everyone goes quiet and I'm just walking up and down the change room, and they're like, right, that's it, let's go. And everyone just a massive cheer and out you go, man, ready
like
to go to
everyone
battle.
around him is like more nervous than he is. Like, and you can see it in our faces. But he's cool, he's calm, you know, he just gets the job done at the end of the day.
And that chemistry within the change room, you said 5 minutes before the fight, and you talked about your confidence, your quiet confidence, but also, you know, being level-headed and just remaining focused on the task at hand. How important do you feel the mental preparation for fights is, as opposed to just getting into tip-top shape, where you're looking in sublime shape as it is? But
Cheers,
like I mean, just the mental preparation for fights.
They say boxing is 90% mental, 10% physical. Do you know what I mean? And that's very true. That is very true because you're your own worst enemy. Do you know what I mean? So if you're sitting there thinking, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen, it's gonna happen because you're gonna let it happen, kind of thing. So you have to be mentally strong. And from a young age, I think I've kind of taught myself to be very, very, very mentally strong. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I've took a lot of beatings in the amateurs. Cause I was not one to be fair. Like my whole team. When I say my whole team, it was literally just me and my dad, like doing amateur boxing back in the day, and we didn't know anyone like that. So we used to go to gyms and we used to spar their best boys. But I only had one fight, and I was taking beatings upon beatings. Like when I mean like proper like bloody nose, everything. And I was only little at the time. First couple of times, obviously, I was crying. I was only little, but it's part of and something clicked one day. I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna have it now. Like this is it. I'm gonna have it. And I think I was about 14 when it clicked, and I wasn't strong enough to have it, but mentally I was. So I'd go in there, I'd take a few, I'd get a few hits, and I thought, all right, no, and I'd come out and I'm like, cool, I'll come back in a year and I'll take you. And then slowly that started happening, and I think that's where I taught myself to be mentally strong, because not having it all my way all the time, which most boxers do nowadays, which is it's true, innit? Most boxers do nowadays. I think that's what's helped me a lot.
And can I ask, because obviously you spoke about the amateurs, so it's two things. What was your amateur career like? But then also, what was the point where you knew it's time to turn pro? Because obviously you turned pro 2018, a couple of years ago. But just talk a little bit about your amateurs and then what made you decide to turn pro at that point.
I had a decent amateur career. I had a lot of experience. I had I think I had around 100 fights, and I lost about 13 or 14 of them.
Wow.
But it wasn't a mad career. I think I won like 1 or 2 national titles. I represented England a couple times, but that was when I was young.
Yes.
And as I started getting older, it was getting a lot harder and a lot more favouritism involved. I know no one likes to talk about it, but the facts are favouritism. It's involved, man. It is what it's not.
There's a lot of talented fighters that don't get the GP.
Exactly, man. But yeah, amateurs, it's needed for experience, but that's all I look at it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's all I look at it. And yeah, man. So the turning point was I was meant to go to the Commonwealth Games, and I went on a training camp for a week, and then I was getting sold dreams, man. Like, yeah, you're gonna get fit. There's me, like, yes, man, I'm gonna get this, and I didn't get it.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what I mean? And then I just thought, oh, come on, man. And then I just got proper demotivated, and I stopped amateur boxing. I was still training.
Yes.
Stopped boxing, and I was still in the gym and that, and then I was with my first coach, and he just turned around and he goes to me, listen, he goes, think about what you're doing, because I've done an apprenticeship actually. Yeah. And he goes, think about what you're doing. He goes, you're a talented kid. He goes, don't let it go to waste. I wasn't going to stop, but I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And he goes, listen, he goes, he had links with Frank Warren and everything. And this is where I'm like grateful to God and my coach, because if I went to Frank Warren myself, he would have told me, on your bike, mate. Do you know what I mean? He would have told me on my bike, because I didn't.
Especially Frank.
Exactly. Because I weren't no standout amateur, like nothing. It was just word of mouth. Do you know what I mean? And on my 18th birthday, obviously we spoke before, and I said, yeah, would sign you on. And it was just a basic. It was nothing like no mad pay. And it was just basic. And then on my signing, and at the minute, it's not about pay, like it never will be to me.
Of course.
But so yeah, at my signing, like I was saying, amateur fights, I didn't have much support at all. It was just immediate family, if that. And then I had a sign-in at a restaurant, and we invited, say 50 people. 500 people turned up.
500 people.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
I swear to God.
And it was only a little restaurant.
That
was a
culture
little-
community,
Ah.
that
It was-
real community.
There was no chicken or anything being thrown, like, you know, with the saunders and wild and that.
It was in Ilford, just near Ilford Station, a restaurant down there, and the street was packed and everything.
Yeah, they
It
started
was
putting
mad.
tables on the pavement and stuff.
Seriously.
And then
Everyone
that's what I was just
started
saying. I was
eating
just saying.
outside, it was
Just to see you sign the contract, essentially.
that's
yeah.
it. And then
Imagine-
That's big.
I think that's when it clicked. Like my manager come and he said, like, this kid's got support.
Yeah.
But he just saw support. He didn't see what he might like. Do you know what I mean? He hopefully thought I could box like,
Yeah.
like with the support.
Imagine
I got.
Warren's face been like, oh, yes. I've got a good one here.
I've had a few book signings, but this kid Hamzah Sheeraz,
He's
he's
the
one
next
to
one.
look out for.
But yeah, man, and they had a good few media channels there, and I was like, I've never had no one want to take a picture with me, and then so all of a sudden I got like 500 people saying, "Oh, let's grab a picture, mate. Let's grab a picture, mate."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, cool, yeah." It's all like that. Do you know what I mean? I was loving it.
So kids, you're the one that's always directing him, saying, "No, we gotta go. We gotta go."
You're like,
stop
you're
it
that
for
annoying
pictures.
one to the fans. No,
Last one.
I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
He was lining them all up, man.
Get used to that then.
It's gotta be more.
Improvisation as a
But
bouncer.
yeah, I think that was also a real turning point because I didn't know the support I had.
Yeah.
And then I met my Uncle Arma there and Umar, and they helped me a lot. He's with me all the time, training everything. And then since then I had my debut at Copperbox, and I was on early.
I remember that.
I was on early. I was on at like I think something mad like 6 o'clock, and 400 like free. I think I sold 350 to 400 tickets for my debut.
Wow.
And
300.
they were all there. They were all there at 6 o'clock.
Wow.
Imagine that. That's like kind of unheard of.
That is. I don't
That
care what
is.
anyone
No,
says.
that's what I'm saying. 300 because
Dedication.
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
man.
not in a bad way, especially without the guys
Yeah,
that
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
had like an Olympic,
Trust me.
amateur
amateur
pedigree.
type of.
Yeah.
That's how I'm defining it. And you said you didn't have the best kind of amateur.
Yeah, no,
career.
100% I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you didn't have the
worst,
team
but you
G
didn't have the
support.
following. You didn't have the and this
The
is a
pedigree.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is a message to all the guys out there who's trying to
Exactly.
look at my man's story. Look at
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because
That's like a savoury element when you get fans, 400 fans that have all bought a ticket for you to come out. And the minute you step foot in that arena,
That's it.
like you don't see that, and you see some fans turn up and they miss the fight of the bloke they bought a ticket off.
yeah,
Oh, that
Do you know what I
happens
mean?
so many times, mate.
So
you see it all the
But
time.
talk to me about that feeling, though. Okay, you've sold the 350
Yeah, that's what I
tickets.
can say. So I've
Yeah.
stepped out now on the ring walk, and I've looked like, whoa, like I didn't get nervous,
Yeah.
and then I didn't get nervous until I jumped in the ring because I jumped in the ring and I've like done like a kind of a 360, and I've seen heads everywhere, like everywhere, and I didn't, and the arena was like kind of
Because Copperbox is small
exactly.
as
You've
well.
seen what it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and
It is.
I looked up like, whoa, it's getting real now,
Yes.
and then the t-shirt come off because I've never boxed without a head guard and without a top and 8-ounce gloves. And then when I threw the first punch, I was like, that's it. I love this, man. I love this game kind of thing. And then I got the second round knockout. And bear in mind, I only had like 1 knockout in the amateurs out of 100 fights.
Oh, wow.
I was never known to be a puncher or nothing like that in the amateurs. But then as soon as you put on the 10-ounce gloves, it's a whole nother game. Do you know what I mean?
Says that.
It is a whole nother game. And then I got the knockout, and then slowly, since then, it's just been going up.
Yeah.
And and I appreciate everyone, man.
Yeah. And I mean, you had to be fair, 2018, 2019, like you didn't rest on your laurels. You were out there, fighting at least 3-4 times a year.
Man.
Yeah.
How do you find that? Like, not just from a training perspective, because it sounds like you always got to be in camp, but like mentally preparing yourself for another opponent. Like, how do you deal with turnarounds?
That's where my manager Andy Ayling, like, I'd like to thank him a lot for what he's done. He's kept me active, very active, and he's always said to me since I signed my contract 3 years ago. He said to me, "Listen," he goes, "We're going to keep you active." He goes, "We're going to keep you active." He goes, and then hopefully by your 3rd year we'll get you a title, and that's exactly like touch wood, alhamdulillah. That's how it's planned out. It's literally planned out. But I also said, like, I don't want that padded record of fighting journeymen and. Obviously, the first couple fights you have to. Of course. You have to, do you know what I mean, to learn your craft. But I didn't want to to get to 16, 17, 18 and 0 fighting bums. Yeah. Because that's not what I'm here for. Impressive. Obviously, I got time on my hands, but at the same time, there's no time to be wasted. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, man.
But if I could say that just to that point, because although I hear what you're saying, but you're still young. So a lot of guys that are even older than you, when they start their career, at least the first 18 fights, it's a little bit padded. Do you see what I'm saying? Even when they've come through the Team GB. So for you to say, I want challenges, it's not necessarily about massively difficult fights. You want challenges. You don't want guys that have got...
They're just going to come and fall over.
Exactly. Or they've got like more losses than they've got wins. Like you want a little bit of a balance. So I looked at your box rate and I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, 100. Like expanding on that point, like I said, it gets boring, it gets repetitive. Do you know what I mean? Like I would lose motivation going in there fighting bums all the time. Yes. Don't get me wrong, some boxers love it. Yeah. For the Instagram. Yes. Do you know what I mean? The Instagram boxers.
Hey, I hope that one. I hope you're not for a shot.
We're gonna get to that. Super welterweight is very tasty.
Yeah.
But
yeah, man. Like loads of people do it, and I just look at it. I'm like, come on, man. Do you know what I mean? This is real. This is a sport. Yeah. But I suppose each to their own, innit? Their own mindset.
You can't really be doing that in boxing as well, because you're bound to get found out. And you don't want to be getting found out.
Especially nowadays, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nowadays it's like, because I always look at, if you look at like Deontay Wilder, his record is massively padded if you look at like the early fights. But those days, social media wasn't so big, so
you could get away
with it a little bit. Whereas if you look at like a Dubois or a Joyce, like they're having to like test themselves pretty early compared to Wilder. So you're right. Exactly, people weren't accepting.
And like you said, back in the day, they wouldn't look on social media. They'd see like 21 fights, 21 knockouts. Wow, this guy can bang. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
They use the box rec as the tool and get people. But if you look at these guys, box recs, or you even look at these guys, they're unheard of, or they're just being used as just punch bags to sell tickets. Especially as you're selling a lot of tickets. So for you to say, look, I'm a young buck coming in the game. I'm selling 300 tickets and say, look, but I want fights. I want to give that. It's just kind of like a breath of fresh air, because you always hear the same old story. Like,
it gets boring, innit?
Yeah, exactly. Man. And Frank, and credit to Frank as well, always trying to deliver that.
Yeah, of course.
End of the day, he could have easily been like, do you know what? Things aren't really going as well as what they once used to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of keep this guy here. He's got the following, he's got the clout, all of that. Let me just build him up a little bit, and then I'll start doing. But no, he's just like, look, I'm real. I'm real to the game, and credit to it.
And that kind of leads on to my next question, because I mean, the prominence of Frank Warren's stable, and he doesn't get enough credit probably for the guys that he's producing, like the likes of yourself, Dennis McCann, Shabazz Massoud, all these guys, you know. And like Kojo used to touch on, there's not really a padded record theme there with those guys. They're willing to, I mean, especially the lower guys, and you're freakishly tall abroad for 154. So I mean, I can only see positives from the way that these guys have been put through the ranks, and the way they're seeking these big challenges to want to fight the best.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely in good company, because I mean, you spoke about those guys, but then you look at Dubois. You know what I mean? Even, I know some people won't say it, but even Anthony Yarde. If you look at Anthony Yarde, how his career developed,
look at
for me, he's done very well.
No.
So you look at so you look at Frank Warren's stage.
Anyone who fights for a world title, you got to respect.
them.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It takes getting there. Like no one gets there just by chance.
You just don't turn up. I want to fight for a world title. And there you go, lads. It doesn't work like that.
It's by merit. I think the way Yard and especially all these guys, they've done it so meticulously. Where the managers, the advisors, they've mapped out fights, and you've got to have those guys in your corner mapping out good fights for you. Like Josh Taylor being a recurring theme.
Yes.
Barry McGuigan, he got him the best fights possible at that stage. He got the Postal fight. He got the
O'Hara Davis.
Davis.
You know,
fight.
that was the best thing that could have happened to him.
Yeah, he got the O'Hara Davis. That's what put him on that platform and people recognise him.
100%.
Because he just stole OD's fans.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say. So, how do you feel like obviously being part of that Frank Warren stable, one of the rising lights? You're in good company, but. You spoke about people saying, "Are you going to win this?" But I thought, did people ever question you about choosing to fight with or sign with Frank Warren as opposed to maybe an Eddie Hearn? Do you get that question?
You see, I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
Most casuals only know Eddie.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to ask you, just to get your mindset on that.
And it's mad frustrating sometimes because you have to like sit down and explain, right, I was not a good amateur. Do you know what I mean?
How do you even answer that question?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how I answer it. Because I can't say I was a good amateur, Frank Warren signed me because I was. Do you know what I mean? But it was the opportunity. I tell him, listen, Eddie Hearn was never going to sign me. And to be honest, Frank Warren was never going to sign me either. Yeah. I'm not like trying to look for sympathy, but it's the heart. It is the truth. Yeah. It's the truth. So this is where my coach comes into it, and like I'm mad thankful for him.
Yes.
And obviously he knew I could. He knew what I'm capable of. And that time I had out of the ring from amateurs to pro, I worked on my craft. I was in Spain for I was 17 years old, and I was living in Spain for I was out there for about 2 months at a time.
Wow.
On my own, like with Sanjeev Sahoto used to box and Boy Jones Jr. And back in the day, I was learning my craft off them, and at the time they were at the pinnacles of their career. Yes. So and Billy Long as well. So at the time there was nothing but people for me to look up to, and also. But in Spain, there's a gym called Elche Boxing Club. Yeah, it's one of the most famous gyms out there. And I was 17 years old, and I weren't dying to nothing then, and I was weighing about 70 kilos then, yeah. And we'd go to the spar, and this is like a hardcore gym. You go in there, and everyone just eyeing you out. They put the music down, everyone just eyeing you out. And bear in mind, I was a 17-year-old kid, yeah. And I've got in there, and they knew I was a mover, because at the time I was moving. They split the ring in like a half and half again in a quarter. And then they put me in one of their best Spanish middleweight champions, yeah. Oh, that day, I swear, I took some licks. I took some good beating. But then, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's needed.
It's needed. It's where I learned. And like I said, going back to the mentally strong point, that's where it's helped a lot. Yeah, so yeah, man.
Oh, I'd like to hear that. Like, you actually took beatings because...
you don't get anything easy, do you?
I hear too many things about fighters being, oh, he's unbelievable. See what he does here. He gives this guy problems. He gives that guy problems. Yeah, so I want to hear about the struggles a little bit because...
People covered up because they're too scared. Me, I'm honest. Like, there's nothing for me to lie about. Do you know what I mean? I still take beatings in sparring. Like it's facts. I still take beatings in sparring. I ain't invincible. Do you know what I mean? I'm always learning. I'm always gonna keep working on my craft. So yeah, man.
That's why we just don't want to hear all this like shit stories about sparring and people getting knocked out. Oh, I knocked this guy. Like your best just come out. Like it doesn't matter if you don't want to come out in the public domain. You don't have to. That's your choice. But I'm glad that you've said that you've had tough tasks, you've had tough challenges in sparring, etc. And I think that translates more into the ring for your own personal 100%. Benefit to take yourself to that next level, because you're going to get more people on board. You're not going to have these guys saying, oh yeah, well this Hamzah Sheeraz, he goes on like, oh yeah, he's so slick, he's like a fury, in sparring, doesn't get hit, and you admitted it. So.
Exactly. And just to that point, I mean, obviously you're still young and you're going through the journey. And I'm impressed with the way you're speaking. But I think with media training, with media interviews, I think sometimes what can happen is people keep saying the same thing all the time. So actually, people want to start buying into you as a person. So you've been able to be honest, be real, exactly. But and I didn't even use that word only because some people use it too much nowadays. But you get what I'm saying, right? Because it's like just be yourself 100%. And then just be honest. Okay, I'm still learning in sparring. Guess what? I'm 20. But I'm still learning. Do you know what I mean? But the world is your oyster, and I think knowing that you don't know is a great thing as well.
Yeah, of course.
No, for sure. I wanted to get your take on the scene though. As a young kid coming in. No, I want to get your take on the scene. Like, are you going to be that honest and you talk about the scene in the game? That's what I want to see, you know. So who's your kind of, if you had to, in today's game, who do you look up to and say, look, this is how I would like to model my career by? That this is the way.
You see, I split that. Yeah. So outside of the ring, I'd say Anthony Joshua, because you can't fault the guy.
No.
Do you know what I mean? He's one of the most. He is the most marketable athlete out there at the minute.
Numbers don't lie, right?
to not look at him outside the ring to look up to would be stupid.
Yeah.
And the way he carries himself, conducts himself, I think it's amazing. And inside the ring, I'd say someone like Terence Crawford, man, because I love the way that guy boxes. He's class.
That's his friend
Dog.
right there.
Yeah.
Crawford's a dog, you know. And I mean that in a respectful way, but like, he brings it.
Ruthless, you know what I mean? Ruthless.
Yeah.
The way he uses his skill with his power, he can
Yes.
fight, he can inside out. It's wicked, man.
Exactly.
I look up,
Switch
yeah.
it
So that's who I look up to, really.
Nice
choices.
No, great. No, I like that.
Yeah,
Very
great.
short choices, man.
So I was going to ask you about the scene because obviously you're super welterweight,
Yep.
154 pounds. In the last year, that division has just been shaken up.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
yeah.
must be watching that, and I say to both of you, you and
Yeah.
the team, you must be watching that really with like, Jesus, like there's opportunities
Yeah.
here. Not last weekend, 2 weekends ago, Julian Williams lost to Rosario. Probably looking at a rematch there. Brooke is fighting in a couple of weeks as well. And then
Jarrett Hurd returned on the weekend.
Jarrett Hurd came back.
Yeah.
Charlo took his belt back from Harrison. So it's kind of like,
No, yeah. Like you're saying, no one dominates that division.
No one.
It's one of the
Yeah.
most open divisions out there at the
it's a good
minute.
time
It's,
for you,
it's
man.
wicked, man.
Yeah.
Even domestically.
that's what I was just going to say. My next question.
Yeah.
So it's domestically, tell
Even
me your
domestically, man. Like,
thoughts. Cheeseman.
now I've got a belt under me. People are going to start calling me out, and it is what it is. And this is what I'm here for, the real fights.
Yes.
The real fights. Do you know what I mean? I'm never one to call people out, though. That's one thing. I'll never, ever. If you say someone called me out on Twitter, I won't reply.
Oh yeah.
Unless the fight's made.
Yeah.
When the fight's made, that's it. It's,
Yeah.
We got business to handle.
Can't
Do you know
go
what I
back
mean?
You want to fight? You wouldn't call them out?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all, man. Like,
Okay.
I ain't one. I'll fight anyone. That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. I'm not one to say, I want to fight him.
Yes.
Whoever wants to fight me, let's make it happen.
You don't need to waste that negative
That's it.
energy.
That's
innit?
it, man.
Yeah.
100%.
But with
that.
with that
like that.
154-pound division, I suppose, kind of like, what would you say if you're looking at the guys in terms of like your attributes, your reach, your height, your slickness, your skill set in general? What do those guys lack that you feel that you have, without sounding obviously arrogant, big-headed?
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
Obviously, I mean, we know what you're about now. Do you know what I mean? So just kind of talk about the scene.
You know what it is? I don't think it's anything physically. I think it's more mentally, man. Because how much I want it, only I know, and I know I want it a lot. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what gives me that edge when I go into fights. Like, they could be, honestly, like, this is honestly speaking from my heart, they could be faster than me, they could be stronger than me, they could even be smarter than me, but I guarantee they don't want it more than me. And if it comes down to it, I'm doing anything to get that win. Do you know what I think? That's what drives me a lot, and that's what pushes me through training, and also having a good, strong team around you, like having like my family, my uncles, everyone back me, and just making, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm carrying them on my shoulders, and we got to get to the top together. That's my mentality.
And that WBO title that you've got now, that's giving you a top 15 ranking
top
with the
15
WBO. So I suppose we want to ask you about those 50-50 fights with domestic guys. But if say for example tomorrow you got the phone call, the WBO champion,
Sheeraz.
Sheeraz. If you were say, Hamzah, it's Frank Warren on the phone here. We've got an offer for you to go out and fight to Sheeraz for the WBO world title. But then also having in the back of your mind that you've had previous offers, say just in kind of just in like a hypothetical sense, you've got Cheeseman, Fowler, these guys. What would your
It'd 100% be the world title.
title.
1,000,000%, man. Because listen, like I said, I got time on my hands, and there's obviously not time to be wasted. But if a massive opportunity come like that, and let's say I didn't win, and let's say I done good, my name would be up there in the mix.
Exactly.
Would it or would it not? It would be there.
100%.
You get me? So, yeah, man, like I'm saying, but obviously my intention would obviously go there to get the win. But listen, you don't know what's around the corner. You do not know what's around the corner. So yeah, man, I just want to keep building on that world ranking. But at the same time, me doing that will also make my name bigger domestically.
Yes.
So it's a win-win either way.
And even that 154, as much as it's such a competitive division, in my personal opinion, I don't see. Maybe you could accept Munguia. Obviously, he's moved up to middleweight now. But there's no concussive big punches or have demonstrated that consecutive big knockouts. There isn't, and I think that's where there's room for you to boost. And I think, do you know what? I think give it maybe 12-18 months. 100% mix.
Yeah, God willing, man. God willing. That's the plan, of course.
Like you said, the key thing is if you can fight for it, right? I mean, Liam Smith, he held world title.
WBO as well,
WBO,
innit? Yeah,
exactly. So I'm just going to ask you, though, because I didn't ask it at this beginning. How would you describe your style? For the listeners that haven't seen you fight yet, how would you describe your fight? If I'm like, listen, you got to watch this guy.
Yeah, if you asked me this before my last fight, I would have said to you, long, rangy, behind the jab. But then after my last fight, I'd say, listen, whatever. Like, I can keep it long and not standing big-headed because I'm not big-headed. But whatever. Like, I can fight on the inside as I demonstrated in my last fight, which no one expected me to do.
Yeah, true.
Because I don't know if you watched the fight, but
I did catch it.
yeah, but
Birmingham show, right?
yeah, pardon?
The Birmingham show.
Yeah, that one.
Brum.
But Brum, that's it. Brum town, Brum city.
Yeah.
But I was boxing the first 4 rounds long, and it wasn't helping me, man. Like I could tell they were expecting me to do that. And then he was comfortable. He was like slipping, caught me with a good few shots. Then I went back in the corner, and Eddie Kelly, my coach, I said to him, listen, I'm going to close the range now. I said to him, I'm going to close the range, and I'm going to beat him on it at his own game. And he goes, do that, but be careful for what's coming back. And I was like, yeah, sweet, let's go. And then 5th round, if you watch it, that's when I started opening up a little bit, letting my hands go. Yeah. And I could feel I was softening them up. Yeah. And then the next round, I done the same thing. I stepped it up just a little bit more. Yeah. And I caught him with a shot. Yeah. And I was working on the inside as well. And as soon as I see him go down, I thought, listen, I'm ending it now. Regardless of what I've got to do, if I even got to kick him, I'll do it. But nah.
We like to hear
somebody got bitten on the weekend, Danny Garcia, right?
Yeah.
No biting, Hamzah, please. Yeah.
No biting, man.
Did you watch that fight?
I watched it.
We'll get into that.
Do you know what I mean? The guy's a bit mad, innit?
Oh, boy.
That's crazy. But, I mean, like, I suppose watching that fight against Kelly, I felt like Kelly got flustered very early on. He felt like he couldn't really negate what you had in terms of that range, capitalising on that short to mid-range distance. And I think that when you got up on the inside and you were... I think the variety of your shots didn't really get mentioned a lot in that commentary and post-fight. But I think the variety and as I said, the meticulous array of punches that you've used to break fighters down, I think that's probably what's given these guys like the massive kind of like shit. What is actually in front of me? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, 100% like you said. But I think that comes not having it my own way. I know I keep banging on the point, but I think that's exactly where it comes from. Because you know when you're getting pressured in sparring, that you got to do things you've never done before, and you only realise what you've kind of done in the fight. So then when you're mixing it up with him and you're not feeling nothing, you're thinking, yeah, okay, cool. Now this makes sense. Why I've been put in this hard spar. So yeah, man, that's where it paid off.
I think that's where boxing IQ comes in as well, because being able to adapt during the fight is quite an impressive thing to do. Yeah. So yeah, you got.
And can I say, even from you as like of you're his boy, you've seen the career. Like what improvements or what have you seen? And you're like, he's getting better. Like what have you seen from your own perspective? Watching,
just seeing him like just feeling a bit more, getting his man strength. It's mad because he was never one to have like he said in the amateurs, have like proper strength, like knock people out and that. But obviously, as you can see in his pro career and that, he's knocking people out left, right, and centre. So just seeing that strength come in, it's like you can see it clearly, even in like training and stuff. It's like watching that is quite cool. Like that's good from the ground up.
Yeah, and in terms of like obviously you mentioned the strength. Are you working on anything specific just to increase the strength?
Yeah, no, I'd just like to shout out my strength trainer, Josh Shooten from CrossFit Hackney, and also train with Mark Finley up in Lee Valley Athletic Centre, who does my conditioning.
Oh yeah,
He does a lot of.
He does all kinds.
Bro, he's busy, man. He's busy. Shout out to him.
Richard Yates as well.
Yeah, I think so. Or was it Tiny? He did somebody.
He's got loads, man. But his training's next level. I had him on board for my last fight, and I'll start with him next week again when I'm in camp. But yeah, man, like. The little things, they all add the 1%.
Yes.
And when you're training with someone like Mark Finley, who takes you to different levels, it all shows at fight night, because I wasn't like puffing at all. You know what I mean? So a massive shout out to him.
But during and after, he's like, Mark, what are you doing? Like, trying to catch your breath,
That's exactly how it is. You feel like you're dying in the training sessions. Yeah. But then he tells you, he goes, listen, he goes, get up. He goes, you're not going to feel like this in the ring. You remember, innit? So hard work pays off.
What do they say? They say train hard, fight easy.
Exactly, man.
See that going.
You jumping in for that, yeah? You jumping in?
Nah.
He's got seconds, man.
I saw your face.
Right on place.
So
Sam here, last year he did the marathon in Greece.
Yeah, man.
Oh, well
done for a marathon this year as well. Yeah, man. So I'm like, I'm like, bruv, I could
you
never.
Been there. You done the training.
Yeah, I know it's like to that. Not your level, but definitely.
Even though marathons,
be able to train and that, it's a good experience, man, because it's all about the mental, the mind. Because there's people with me that didn't do what they said they were going to do. There's people that, saw, had the badges and everything, like, yo, I've done this and that. And you see them on the floor, like, flopping. It's that particular one was, like, uphill for half of it. So it's incline.
More than half of it.
Yeah.
More than the Athens marathons. Probably like 75% is all incline.
Yeah, man. It was just about the mentality.
Exactly.
You know them thighs, they're just, like, burning off.
And on the topic of marathons and stuff, like, there's always been a good cause for stuff like that. But with your boxing career specifically, having, come from Slough, had the support and the backing from early, how much does that community element mean to you? Like, to show, you as like being showcasing your skills, but proving yourself as an ambassador for the sport and ambassador for people coming through within your own demographic.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. What you're saying is right, but it really opened my eyes, like I said, on my signing, because I didn't realise the support I actually had. And at the end of the day, you got to, like, there's so much negative light being shed upon us, kind of thing. And I know I'm not there yet, but I want to be the one to hopefully shed positive light. Yes. And every fight, God willing, inshallah, I get the win. I'm doing that. I'm one step closer to doing that. And also, nowadays, the knife epidemic is just ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. And you got little kids like stabbing each other and the kid. It's mad.
Cool, man.
It's mad. Like best friends as well, which is the worst thing.
It's like they don't understand the damage that the knife does. I know it's silly, but
it's the extent. It's the extent to which it's not even the immediate effect on the victim. It's the victim's family. It's the whole narrative of this knife crime.
It's a ripple effect, man. And even you was at Mark's. You were at the Mark Prince.
Mark Prince. Yeah, we were at the Mark Prince last week.
Raps on TV everywhere, man.
But to be fair, Tom's done a lot of good work for Mark Prince. So even when they named the QPR Stadium, he went there as well.
And you know what? It was funny because as I was talking to you, I work with primary school children, and I worked at the school last Tuesday doing a football session at London Academy in Edgware. And I read an article today. That was the school that Kyan was stabbed to death. It just like it sends it pisses me off, but it also sends like emotional you know, like when you get that frostbite in your hands, in it. But yeah, like I'm proud to be able to in this present moment share things with people that are so positive minded and that want to set that foundation for the kids going forward, like yourself, a role model. We can all be role models in different ways. It doesn't have to be through boxing. It can be through art, entertainment, everything. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that because it's boxing specific.
But even from a time perspective, so I guess my question to you would have been, obviously, you fought Ilford, big community there. They showed the support. Are you planning to do anything in the community from a boxing perspective, or just, I say help the youth, but just get involved, like, so you get more support locally?
I'd 100% love to, man, but I just need the opportunity.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? I just need when the opportunity comes to me, boom, I'm helping.
People in Ilford,
shout out
Hamzah.
Local community in East London, there's loads of stuff. There's loads of people that
to be fair to you, I mean, when we arranged this, I've got to say it again, I'm not just saying because you're here, but you were not thievish at all.
No drama.
I'm telling you, we've had some guys, and we're self-funded, right? So obviously we don't get big sponsorships.
Yeah, of course.
And we're getting guys saying, can you send me a car for me? What? Back and forth to the house.
Like, Kojo, can you send me a private jet to my...
Off air, innit?
Off air, all the dirt comes out. But yeah, no, we appreciate that. So listen, we're going to move on to the calls. We're going to get a couple of our callers. I can see we've got a few of the regulars. So topics on the list or any questions for the listeners listening. So we're going from Danny Garcia fight. We've also got the Miami showdown, which is the Matchroom card featuring Andrade, Farmer, Jojo Diaz, and also Joshua on saying that he wants the 70-30 split with Wilder or Fury should that fight take place. So we're going out to Uncle Benga first. I see you.
Big Unks.
Big Uncle. How you doing? Question or statement?
Guys.
How you doing?
Good evening, guys.
What's going on?
Great,
Good afternoon, evening, sorry.
Great lineup tonight, guys, with the boxer you've got on.
Thank you, man.
I'm so delighted to hear the young man speak. So I'll definitely be keeping a good eye on you.
He will, trust me.
And keep up the good work.
Perfect.
Thank you, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
A couple of things. I know I'm biased, but I love Danny Garcia. So I feel Danny might be moving up to light middleweight at some stage before his time is out in boxing. So you may want to keep an eye on him if you're in the super welterweight division. Yeah. Okay. I think Danny fought a good fight, a solid fight. I don't think he was at his best.
Yeah.
And I got an inkling of that when I watched the weigh-in. Not that if you noticed, he had to take off his pants before he made the weight. And I think he'd been inactive. He'd fought last about 9 months ago. So I think it was a good fight. I think he got what he wanted out of the fight. But obviously, if it was one of the top guys, I think he'll have been even better. You know, good boxing ability, very tough, The only weakness I think Danny has is his relatively slow feet, but he's got great balance. I don't know what you guys thought of the fight.
I agree. I think, Uncle, if you were to sort of unpick Garcia's performance from the weekend, what would you, if you're looking at fights with the likes of Crawford, Thurman, Spence, do you think he needs to adjust those things like his footwork, his movement to really get the best out of him and strengthen his chance of beating these guys?
Well, I think you need to be careful when we say things like that, in the sense that it reminds me of Crawford's last fight, where some people were critical about the way he fought that fight. But I do not for 1 minute think that Crawford would fight Errol Spence the way he fought his last fight. And nor do I think Danny Garcia will fight Errol Spence or one of the top guys at welterweight the way he fought Ivan Redkach. I think there's enough evidence out on these guys. We know what Danny Garcia does well and what he doesn't do well. And, they say styles make fights. I think a fight between Garcia and Errol Spence will be an absolute cracker, because neither guy is really going to give ground. And they both actually like to get on the inside, even though they're good boxers. So I think we know what Danny Garcia's weaknesses are. The interesting thing is, if it comes into a battle of attrition, will Errol Spence have to go on the back foot? Or, Spence is someone, when he comes inside, he monsters everybody. And Danny Garcia is someone you actually do not want to get in a mano-a-mano with. So for me, that would be interesting. I do think Danny would stop, will have a torrid time, but I do think he will stop Pacquiao if that fight was made.
Okay,
that's a good shot.
Yeah, I do. But like I say, styles make fights. Guys, you said something about Joshua, 70-30. I think you guys need to check. I'm pretty sure they were talking about 50-50, or that's what Eddie Hearn said.
So Eddie Hearn said 50-50, but there was an interview with Joshua, and he basically said he dismissed it as saying, I don't think it should be 50-50. It's an IFL interview.
He said, why not 70?
He said, why not 70-30? Yeah.
I don't think 70-30 will get over the line in terms of 60-40.
Yeah.
The last time Hadu made it. There's no doubt that, look, Joshua is the A side. But, I know it pains Wilder that Joshua is the A side, but in the words of Floyd Mayweather, when I fought Oscar De La Hoya and when I fought Arturo Gad, they were the A side and I was the B side. When I beat Oscar De La Hoya and I beat Arturo Gatti, I became the A side. So in other words, the best thing is for these guys to take the short end, if it's 40%, 30, whatever, beat Joshua, and then they'll become the monopoly money maker A side in boxing. That's my view, anyway.
No, Uncle, I hear what you're saying, and I understand that. But where I kind of come in is Joshua came on. He actually articulated that so clearly in the IFL interview, and he said, "Look, okay, if I lost to Ruiz, right, and that was the biggest upset of all time. So me beating him now, and the way I did, and just not getting around him, surely that's the biggest comeback of all time. So surely that means my stock goes up, down, and then right back up again.
The roof,
exactly, and I understand that.
He's got a point,
Guys, I'm not disputing that AJ is the A side. It's just a fact. I mean, if you remember a few weeks ago, I voiced disappointment that I do not think that the Fury-Wilder fight is going to do... It'll do good business, but it's not going to do anywhere near the business it should. Because the fact is, the money maker, the economic powerhouse, in boxing is AJ and Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, you know, guys, the figures don't lie.
Yeah, no,
Yeah?
I agree with that. I think your uncle.
You know, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think we have to be a bit, as much as Joshua said that piece around like, oh, it's the biggest comeback. I think it was the biggest upset, but it shouldn't have been. So I don't think he could use that argument too well. For me, I just think if you want the fight, especially depending on location, it's got to be 50-50 the first one. I just think otherwise we're going to be going back and forth over like small little details. And I think Wilder's a WBC champion, undefeated. Joshua's WBA, IBF, WBO, but he's got a loss.
Took an L, man.
And he took an L. And I just think to get that fight made, you have to just say 50-50. Otherwise, we're just going to... It's not happening.
Let me throw this at you.
Yeah.
Okay. As they say in the mafia, in The Godfather, logic is logic in the gangster language. When Canelo Alvarez and Triple G fought, did Triple G get 50-50?
Yeah, but he had no say in that fight.
He got more than... I mean, to be fair, he got more than what they initially offered him.
He got 42. Canelo made a concession and he got 42.5%.
Exactly.
Now, what I'm saying, if Eddie Hearn or Joshua give them 30% or 40%, 40% of a fight that could generate over $100 million is a damn sight more money than Wilder and Fury have ever made.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But
so the question is why that if you've not made more than 10 or 12 million dollars in a single fight, and you have a chance of making like $40 million on the short end of the purse, I mean, you take it. Remember Floyd? Floyd was on the wrong end of the purse against Oscar De La Hoya. He just got the contract signed. He made between $20 to $40 million being on the short side of the purse. But guess what? After that fight, he became the A side.
Agreed.
And he made more money than De La Hoya had ever made. And if De La Hoya is jealous of Floyd.
Yeah, so I would just say, though, for me, if I could just say, because we have to go next call, I would say, to me, Wilder wasn't the level that Mayweather was at. Back then, when De La Hoya fought Floyd, he was big, but I think you could probably argue with social media and everything now, I think Wilder's more known going into this Joshua fight. So I just think, to say how much somebody's earned in the past, I just don't think we can use that. I think, look, the Saudis have said Wilder, Joshua, that's 150 million pot. Just split it down the middle and let's get the fight going. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to bode well for Joshua if he tries to hang on to this, I need a bigger percentage. Yeah. I would not even disagree. He is the A side. He's the bigger commercial person. We spoke about it earlier. He's the more of a role model. Outside the ring, he's the role model. Yeah. But I just think you got to get this fight done now because
his legacy's on the line. The legacy's on the line.
Yeah.
So, Uncle, just a quick response. Yeah, go on.
Just to conclude this, I hear what you said, and we can go on and on about this.
So,
in Wilder's language, I've been anointed by God.
He's been baptized.
This is the banner that we're having.
Your 40 million and your anointing.
So, Uncle, do you reckon, as just a quick response, do you reckon Wilder needs to wear maybe some fishnets for him to get that 50-50? You know, if we're talking about Oscar De La Hoya here and his antics in the past, do you think Wilder needs to maybe wear a little bit of a more kind of fairy tale mask, or what are you saying?
As you know, I'm a brave guy, yeah? But you're not going to get me to come online and say that about you. I mean, there's some boxers I'm happy to have come to my front door.
You know he's listening, right?
Until that right hand, is not one won't come into my...
Uncle, when he calls in, he called him before the Ortiz fight. I'm going to get him to call in again for the Fury fight. I'm going to make sure you're first one to answer the question as usual. But listen, Uncle, we're going to...
I can see you guys are troublemakers.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course, man.
But listen, we've got to move to the next call. Appreciate the time and appreciate the support as always. Going out to 985, Daniel, Mr. Appiah, how you doing, sir?
Yes, Daniel.
I'm very well. How are we doing over there? Are we all right?
We're all good, sir. You good?
Yeah, I'm all good. Big up everyone in the studio.
Yeah, we're here with
big
Mr.
up the
Hamzah.
Yeah, like what he was saying, kind of honest. I like that. And yeah, wish him all the best in his career and all that.
Man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Danny Garcia on the weekend got the win, didn't he?
Yeah.
Got in some much needed rounds after a long layoff.
Yeah.
Hopefully, let's see him in a big fight over the next few months. Who would you guys like to see him fight next?
I'm saying Errol Spence, man. I think that'd be a good fight, good clash of styles, and like Uncle said on the call before, none of them give ground. You know what I mean? So it'll be a barnstormer.
Yeah, that'll be.
I'd like to see him fight his old man.
So yes, I think we're saying Spence. Spence, yeah. I think it's Spence all round.
Spence, yeah, definitely.
That'd be a good fight, man.
Still there, Daniel?
Okay, I'm here. And who wins that fight? And what happens?
Bro, I think Spence grills him, man.
No. Garcia's got the time to shine, so I think he outpoints him. If it goes the distance, and don't forget, like we don't know how. If you saw the video, the footage of that miraculous recovery that Spence had, I don't know if he'll recover
Be the same again.
from that. I don't know. I don't know. And if he doesn't, that's Garcia's all day long.
Yeah.
But if he's stronger, fitter, comes back like a miracle man too, you know.
I agree. I think it's perfect timing for Garcia. I think the Furman fight really taught a lot about his. I'm not going to take much more of your call, Dan. Like it taught him a lot about his character and how he can, like similar to Sean Porter in a way, where he can lose a fight but then even be back at that elite level within 6 months, and really everyone's saying, you know, he's got a solid chance here. So yeah, no, good luck to him. Hope Garcia gets there.
I'm going to be the spoiler, Dan. I am saying Spence Jr. I think, you know what, Danny Garcia is a great fighter, and I'm a fan of his. What I will say is I just think he starts too slow, and I think Spence will capitalize on that. Not to get the knockout, but I just think he will have the momentum, and I just don't know if Garcia will be able to sort of like push Spence back, because I think once Spence gets the momentum, the key thing will be, will Danny Garcia be able to push Spence Jr. back? And I think that's where I have question marks over. I think, look, he's got power, and you saw it. Even on Saturday, you saw great skill. I mean, after the guy bit him, he just pivoted a couple of times and landed a sweet right through the guard. But I just think Spence is a monster. So, like you said, the caveat is if he comes back to full fitness, and you would hope so that to be the case, yeah, I think Spence is great. I think Spence takes him, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But let's see. That's the key thing about boxing. Listen, Daniel, quick one. We're going to ask you and the last caller, Joshua versus Wilder or Fury, 50-50, or should Joshua take the lion's share?
Kojo.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that question? I'm having trouble.
So, no, I just said Joshua versus Wilder or Fury. Is that a 50-50 split on the money, or should Joshua get the lion's share? Should he get the bigger purse?
Yeah, it should be 50-50.
Yeah.
50-50. Yeah, fuck it, 50-50. Yeah, in my opinion, 50. Yeah, that's just me, innit?
Yeah.
Not an expert when it comes to them things, but 50-50, mate.
Yeah.
Don't be fucking greedy. Get in there, 50-50, and fucking fight. That's just, yeah. So, yeah.
All right, wicked, listen.
That's my opinion, really.
Thanks for the call, Daniel, as always. Look forward to hearing you next week.
Peace, bro.
From next week.
Cheers, Dan. Take care, man. God bless.
Yeah, cheers, fellas.
Big up yourself.
Big up your YouTube as well. That's growing. That's growing, man.
So 521, going out to 521. I think it's a new caller. So I'm hoping it's all positivity.
Hello.
521. Hello. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say that Hamzah, I'm a big supporter of Hamzah, and he's a great inspiration for myself and a lot of other people. He's inspired me to start boxing as well.
Wicked,
man.
What's your name, bro? You've got a question to him as well. He's listening.
I've got a question for you. Who are you fighting next? Who's the next big fight going to be?
Whoever, man. Hey, I was going to say the date there. But...
you almost got an exclusive.
Nah, but whoever, man, whoever's in front of me, like I said, they get destroyed, man.
Yeah. Can I ask your name, brother, please?
My name's Imran.
Imran, nice. Thank you for calling
the
show. Obviously, we're here. We're fans talking boxing. So, if you've got any further questions for Hamzah, you just want to say
Yeah, I just want to say that if Troy Williamson wants it, he can get it as well. Anyone who wants it, HS giving it to them. It's HS time.
Cheers, man.
And Imran, it's good that you've raised that. Troy Williamson's obviously an MTK fighter, and yeah, man, obviously it's good that you've got a broad knowledge of boxing. So big respect to you for calling in.
Obviously,
man. Thank you very much.
Hamzah's been I've been following Hamzah on Insta, Twitter, everything. I've seen the YouTube IFL TV videos as well.
Nice.
He's calling out Hamzah's name. He wants Hamzah, but he doesn't know that when he jumps in the ring with Hamzah, he's gonna get knocked out.
That's what we like. No,
the
listen.
last person that was talking shit about Hamzah, he got done in 1 minute. Even this guy might get done before 1 minute. We don't know, but
yo, you got a ringside ticket for next fight, yeah?
I was gonna say.
I just hope Hamzah all the best, and
no, appreciate
Wicked,
that.
brother. Thank you very much, yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you
God
very
bless
much.
you,
Like I can see your first time caller. So listen, appreciate the
Bless,
support.
bro.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate that. Cheers, man. No, that's good. And that wasn't us, by the way. Like, we didn't do nothing, so we put that out there, and he's called in, and
Wicked.
that must feel good. Like
Yeah,
again,
man.
fans talking to you, telling you that you're inspiring them to take up boxing.
Yeah, and 100%. Like the first time I've actually got that, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah, man, like I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm hoping?
Is there anyone that's not a fan of you?
Do you know what I'm hoping now? Do you know what I'm hoping now? Because obviously the people have called in and that. I'm hoping we get like 300, 400, 500 subscribers.
Right? I like that. I like that.
No pressure, no pressure.
Just put raps on
You say you
TV.
can handle it, bro.
Any ticket that you sell, just put raps on TV
Yeah,
at the
man.
bottom.
Your pre-fight shirt for next one. You got to get our logo.
Yeah, come on, man. Why not, man?
But
gotta print that.
I will say though, when you do get to announce your fight news, please just call in the show. Let us
Yeah, yeah.
know.
I will
and
do,
we can
man.
Talk
I
about
will do, 100%.
that. Hopefully we will be there as well. Anyway,
yeah.
covering the fight the whole night. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
Wicked,
that'd be
man.
great. Last point of the day. I think Uncle touched on it, and we've spoken about this Joshua 70-30. I just want to go around and just get people's thoughts on the whole Joshua Wilder Fury. In fact, let's start with Wilder Fury. How people think that fight is going to play out. And how should Joshua versus the winner be next?
Do you know what I think they should do? Yeah, they should get him out into the Atlantic. They should put snorkeling gear on and drop a pin to the bottom of the ocean, and whoever swims to the bottom gets it first.
But
they get the lion's share.
They ain't gonna get back up for the fight though.
Do you know, fuck it. If they're gonna take so long to fucking decide what's
I
the
hear you.
split, they
That's
got
the frustration.
But all jokes aside, I think Joshua now, with that fight against Ruiz, he's overcome that adversity. He deserves the lion's share, man. He's the champion. He's got 3 alphabetical belts with magnitude and with leverage that he can make these big fights. Wilder's got the WBC. He needs to focus on Fury. Fury ain't no mug. Fury's one of the most light-footed, lightweight in terms of lightweight.
Quickest heavyweights out there, isn't it?
Slickest, so yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think that if 50-50, yeah, everyone wants to see the fight, but I understand where Joshua's coming from. He's had to face all that criticism. Oh yeah, you've lost to a big 300-pound Mexican in your first fight. Come back, you should, if you lose this fight, your career's done. Give the man some credit, man. He's come back. He's won his titles back. And of course, he should be shouting out for the lion's share of the portion. The fight's going to happen in the UK. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But if it does happen at Tottenham or whatever, he's the ambassador for British boxing. Therefore, he should be able to pull the strings and say, look, I'm the champion. Okay, respect to you. If you're going to give Wilder 50%, respect your fight.
Yeah.
The best man will win.
Exactly.
Then you'll decide then in the rematch if there's a clause, you are the superior fighter.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's the easiest way. But Hamzah, I'll come to you. Just
I think for the sake of boxing, 50-50.
Yeah.
But I think at that level, actually, I know at that level, it's more of a business.
yes.
If you look at it from a business point of view,
Yes.
like you just said, Joshua deserves the lion's share. He's got the. If you look at it, let's break it down. Yeah, let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
Who's got most belts?
Joshua.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
like it was in the old days. Whoever had the
Yes.
most belts got the bigger pay, and plus he's got more to defend at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he'll always be the A-side fighter because just literally simply due to the amount of belts he's got. I think I'll just keep it simple that way and just, like I said, for the sake of boxing, 50-50, but otherwise 70.
You would agree.
Yeah.
Guys?
I think if you look at it from both perspectives, like he's probably saying, look, you took an L, but then like he just said, like Joshua's gonna be in heavyweight. He's your biggest payday, innit?
Yeah.
So I understand from both points of view, but I think 50-50, man. Just get the fight done. That's the most important thing. Do you know what I mean?
So frustrating.
That's it. That's my point.
That's the main thing.
Sam?
In terms of the split, obviously I'm Nigerian. Obviously, shout out my people. You know the ones there. Always collecting our checks. But I do think he does morally. if we're talking strip back the boxing, strip back for the greater good, because end of the day, boxing's a selfish career, yeah?
100%.
If I want to milk as much money as possible, I'm not going to allow this guy who got big off my name from chanting me, saying one face, one name, one champion.
Guys, let me just say, remember, you're acting like Wilder's going to win. I said Wilder or Fury.
Okay, fine. If Wilder does win, and I think that warrants a 50-50.
Yeah.
Because, listen, Fury mocked Klitschko. Like, the way he mocked him, different.
Yeah.
I don't, obviously, he was going through stuff, but it does not matter. No excuses when you enter that ring, man.
Yeah.
No excuses.
None.
So, he does warrant 50-50. If Fury wins, he also warrants 50-50 because it's like, I've come back from this. You know, I'm still probably not mentally right or not in my back good shape and whatnot. And I beat the guy who was unbeatable. The guy that knocked me down with the hardest right hook or cross hand or whatever it is. I got up from that because I'm built for this and I'm meant for this and I've got a seat at this table despite my drug issues or whatever. So Joshua, what you saying? Yeah. Let's go for it. That's what I think it is. But if I just think at the end of the day, whoever loses, they still get a shot at Joshua. Yeah, I still think they all get to recycle each other because I think Joshua's been able to transcend and bring so much light onto all these different guys' careers that there's enough money in it for everyone. So then Dylan White's now gets a seat at the table. Now Ruiz gets a seat at the table. They all get to recycle each other until the next 3 to 5 years. So it's an exciting time for the heavyweights. But generally, greater good, 50-50. AJ, leave the ego at the door.
I think they should. I'm going to let you obviously have your take on it. I think they should just sit at a round table, fuck the security guards, fuck the management, fuck the promoters, just sit there and actually discuss with a pen and paper what
5-0
5-0 done. Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, my point of view is I think whether it's Wilder or Fury, I think it should be 50-50, not just because they're undefeated. I think the winner of that fight, I mean, look. Do they have now a better resume than Joshua? I think that's arguable because I think, look, if Fury stopped Wilder, all of a sudden you're looking at that Joshua fight and you're like, that's huge. And you're more than likely going to see that in the UK. Wilder knocks out Fury, still huge. You might say overseas. But then I think the argument goes to Joshua where we're also your biggest payday. Yeah. Because the biggest pot of money that is going to come for Joshua is fighting either Wilder or Fury. Yeah. So I think on that basis alone, just the first fight should be 50-50 and then the winner takes all in the second one.
Shouldn't even be worrying about money though, because from what I'm hearing, it might be in Congo. All these two countries that are going to drop the bar, they're going to drop the bank. They're going to be like...
Well, they've saying from Saudi.
Soon enough, you're going to get it from Congo. If it's not going to be Saudi, it's going to be Nigeria. They're all going to be like...
I won't lie. He should, in my opinion. I think if he does it in Congo, I think it's too much of the Ali repetitive. I think he's got to do it in Nigeria.
Nigeria, bro. Nigeria, though, man. Like, even Wilder just said, when he called in on the show, he's like, I would love to do it in Lagos, man. We've got the stadiums, man.
Yeah, really.
I can set up. I just want 5%, man.
Every man's doing it.
Just one more point. I think as well, with this whole 50-50 split, it's not as if they're guys that have took punishment fight by fight and they're actually on a slide where you actually feel sympathetic towards them in terms of their finances. These guys haven't taken much punishment. Joshua's still as fresh face as a daisy. So is Wilder. Exactly. So realistically, these guys are not on the tail end of their career. They've still got lots to give. They haven't had to soak up all that punishment that some fighters have had to. So then, what's the deal like? You're gonna have probably like 3 fights anyway between you two.
Egos. So listen, guys, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Guys, before we go, do you want to shout out your social medias for both of you as well?
Just follow my Instagram, Hamzah Sheeraz, all one word, and my Twitter, Sheeraz_Hamzah.
And we'll put a link in the video.
Wicked, man.
Guys.
Just follow Hamzah Sheeraz, man.
He's like behind the scenes out here. I'm like that. So listen, guys, thank you for all the listeners. Guys in the future that'll be listening, in the past that will listen. Callers as always with all the support. Much appreciated. This week we couldn't go live on Facebook, but we will be back live next week with our live Facebook streaming. So appreciate all of the support. I think Tom's been doing some magic.
I've been going live the whole time, so you know what? I had to improvise.
Follow Tom Lyons on Facebook.
Follow Hamzah Sheeraz.
Everyone's name is Hamzah Sheeraz today, right?
Like, why wouldn't you want to have a name like that?
Hamzah Sheeraz Show. The Hamzah Sheeraz Show.
Right? The Hamzah Sheeraz Show. That's how we retitle it. But listen, Hamzah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Coming down as well. And guys, we're out back next weekend. This weekend, you've got your Dennis Ugas fighting over in the States, February the 1st. Then we've got the Miami show, and tomorrow MTK are doing a new academy launch, so I'll be down there and getting a lot of live footage for you guys. So until we're back next week, everything is Raps on TV, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. And we're out.
Peace out.
Peace
out.